Welcome in everyone to the Central Jersey Open 2026 presented by Innova and Heiser Media, held in Manalapan, New Jersey at the Grove Disc Golf Course. I'm Gary Daddario and joined today by Matt Bruder. Matt, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey Gary, thanks for having me. I am doing great. Super excited to be out here watching some disc golf at what a lot of people are saying is the hardest course in Jersey. And we've got some great guys to show us the way with Dylan Capaccioli, Andrew Fish, Jacob Arnold, and Chris Villa. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I mean, look at the leaderboard here. We see that Dylan has a bit of separation, but I mean, you said yourself, the hardest course in New Jersey. You got to think that any of these guys shooting a hot round can catch the man. With Lucas, RJ, Matt, lots of talented players there on the leaderboard.
Absolutely. And on a course like this, like you said, anything can happen. And starting off with hole one, we've got a par 3, 391 feet, bit of a dog leg to the right. Players are going to throw some sort of left to right moving shot, whether it's a late turning backhand or a forehand. Let's see what they got.
Dylan Capaccioli. From Baltimore, Maryland, Andrew Fish.
Looks like Fish is going to show us the backhand here.
From North Wales, Pennsylvania, Jacob Arnold. Last on the tee, from Norristown, Pennsylvania, Chris Villa.
And shout out to tournament staff, Eric and James Schubert. Those two have been putting on a lot of events lately and bringing the first A tier back to Jersey since 2021. So those guys have been doing a lot of good work for the sport in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, New Jersey just seeing a major uptick in the number of courses they've been putting in just the last 5 to 10 years. Like a dozen courses being put in. So Jersey, the place to be for some disc golf.
Let's go.
Fish with a great approach here, making a easy 3 for himself on the first hole.
You see here, part of the problem being cut off a little early. On this course, position play is so important.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we're going to see this come into play a lot today is, decision making. Are players going to go for the high risk, high reward shots, or are they going to take their medicine and pitch out? And, not a whole lot to do here on this par 3 other than put one in play and maybe give yourself a long putt. As we see, Chris here seems to be the closest out of the group, and he's still, has to throw an approach shot to the basket. Just shows you how difficult this hole is.
Great looking bid there. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what Chris is able to do. A lot of experience on this course and playing at events prior to this one. So, like I said at the top, no lead is safe on a course this difficult. But with Dylan taking the first bogey there, that it's one notch down for him and a chance for the rest of the competitors to gain a stroke.
Yes. Jacob taps in his par. He's actually gaining more than half a stroke on the field. This hole played 0.6 strokes over par on the day, which a lot of courses, they start with a hole 1 that's very open and inviting and friendly, but not the Grove. The Grove just, you're in it right away with hole 1. So, but 3 pars on the card, that's a pretty good start for this group. Hole 2, we have got a par 4. This first shot, you're looking to kind of place something in this area by this tree here, set yourself up for an approach shot, kind of straight into this alternate pin, which is a little bit closer to the road, 558 feet, but it takes 2 good shots to get the birdie here.
Yeah, looking at a par 4 at 558, I think a lot of people are thinking to themselves, oh, seems pretty short. But once again, a lot of position play is what you're going to see at this event of players knowing their landing zones and trying to put their disc right where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and it looks like Fish just didn't give that the height that he wanted. Um, I think he's looking to get some a little bit higher, let it work a little bit more to the right. Jacob here going with the
Oh,
turnover, and oh, that's just an early tree. That's going to be a lot of work from there.
yeah, I think I like the pushing backhand here, just to kind of have that fight out at the end and keep yourself in the middle of the fairway.
And you mentioned that. Do you think we're going to see any forehands out of Villa today?
Ooh, I don't know if Villa wants to be throwing any forehands today. That might be a bad sign if we see one of those.
That's right. I have a feeling this man right here will be throwing enough forehands for everybody. I believe that was an A5 from Dylan. He's not going for much off the tee. Again, like I said, just placement here, and he certainly has the power to get to that first landing zone.
It's a pretty solid, smart play right there. Honestly, when you're in the woods off to the left or right at this course, like a lot of these guys are here, you just have to take your medicine. You're going to hear that phrase a lot today, folks. Open up the medicine cabinet, be smart, and take the par when you have to.
Yeah, it's so easy out here to put yourself in a worse position than you were originally, and that's where people end up taking such big numbers on these holes. But these are the best players in the tournament, so we're also likely to see some shots like this where you've got a tight gap, but it's all open air through there, and that should be a circle 2 look for the birdie for Dylan.
I think that's why I like the short par four so much because it's a mentally complicated thing. You could find yourself short and out of, over in the rough, but you could still see the basket and it tempts you to go for it still.
Here's Chris's up shot. Oh, catches the last tree. Still leaves him with a look.
Very smooth, very smooth.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about the difficulty of this course. All the shots that it's asking for are very doable. A lot of it's just going to be the consistency, and like you said on these par fours, having to put multiple quality shots together to score. And if you're clean off the tee, there's a good chance you can get yourself into the circle. But if you're not, you're going to be working hard for these pars.
Matt, am I right in saying that birdies come at a premium at this course?
Absolutely. And if there was a word to describe even more than a premium, I would even be so bold as to put it up there, because they are tough to get out here at the Grove. And Dylan with a little bit of work left for his par, cleans it up.
That's a good right of the ship after the bogey on the first hole. You have to imagine there's a decent bit of pressure coming into this final round here, being more than double under par than your competitors.
Yeah, you wonder how much is there that safety of, oh, I've got such a big lead, and you see one stroke disappear from that lead, and then you make a couple more mistakes, and it's definitely a nervy thing, especially out here. But hole 3, we've got another par 3, 284 feet. This is one that a lot of people really have circled as one that they want to get, but it's still tough. It's no gimme. It's only 284, but the green is well guarded. And it's a tight gap off the tee, and it's a very specific shot shape we're looking for.
Tough early kick for Fish there.
Yeah, it's going to put him in an interesting position. I'm not sure if he'll have a good lane to the basket from there, or if he'll have to take 2 shots to pitch up. But Chris puts it right up in the circle. I believe that's his Ati. That's a great shot. That's the line that we're looking for here.
I would not want to be that tree right now.
No, that had a lot of steam, and this is, I'll be honest, this is a very, very difficult hole for someone throwing a forehand. It takes a very, like I said, a very specific shot for the backhand, but for a forehand, it's even more touchy and technical. So um, we'll see what he can manufacture from here. Gonna get an early branch. Looks like he settled in the fairway, though. We'll see if he can pitch up for his bogey.
I think this is the second forehand roller we're going to see out of Fish today. So, oh, never mind. I judged that one wrong.
Easy up and down for Dylan. Okay. Limits the damage to 1.
Long birdie look here for Jacob. Ooh.
It's just a little soft.
There it is. It's a big birdie there for Villa, closing the gap a little bit more on the leader.
Yeah, Chris doesn't miss those. That's a great par from Fish.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very early kick, and that's a very impressive scramble from him.
I mean, like you said, these are the top competitors of this tournament, but you have to imagine that the experience that Fish has with the Pro Tour and some of the events he's played, that's got to play a lot into a course like this, with knowing when to apply the brakes, when to apply the gas, and then clutch up when you have to.
Yeah, 100%. This course is definitely, it's not exactly the kind of course they play on tour, but like you said, the level of difficulty that it brings in and the level of focus that you need as a player, definitely having that experience is going to benefit him.
Here we are after 3 holes. We have Dylan, who's led a little bit to the field. Chris, Andrew, and Jacob just trying to, mind their position and see what happens next.
Yeah, so hole 4 is a par 4. Again, sub 600 feet par 4. We're looking for a straight shot that finishes a little to the right, and then you're hoping for just a downhill, right to left finishing shot into this green. It's not super protected, but the lane you're looking to hit is very specific. If you don't hit it, you're taking a par at best. Chris is going to play that flip to turn backhand. And he just turns it a little bit too much.
Ooh, there we go. That little late turn carrying him down there to what looks like almost the halfway point, because it feels like there's 2 different fairways on this hole.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's going to be a little pinched on that left side. But there might be something. There's a lot of trees in these fairways, and there's little gaps, a lot of little gaps on that left side that he might be able to take advantage of.
A fortuitous kick there. Probably the first time a tree's done some good work for him there. That was moving pretty quick.
Chris in a bit of a tricky spot here. And he's just playing to the corner. That's a good play. It might be a little tricky up on that tree right there, but just kind of keeping the theme of, don't do too much. Don't try to be a hero. Just take what you got. Oh, nice shot from Jacob. Gets a lot of progress down the fairway.
I'm thinking that Dylan is kind of trying to get through the course here, hoping for a hole where he does not find a tree. But I'm sure with his skill level, he's going to figure that out as the day goes on. But that's the difficulty, like you said, of going forehand through all these holes. You've got to be so technical.
Yeah, and just the level of difficulty on one shot can make him break a hole. I mean, he was in a decent spot there, but just the shot shape you need to get around this bend to come down to a green with a forehand, it just takes so much touch, which it seems he has. He must have at his level. Um, I'm not super familiar with his game, but I'm sure by the end of today we will be.
Well, and certainly you don't end up being that far in the lead at an event without having the touch. So it's definitely there. I think it's just maybe a hole here or two to get himself warmed up and kind of shake off that pressure of coming into the final round with a lead.
Absolutely. I mean, what was his round? 10:57. Oh, nice bid from Fish. I believe he shot a 10:57 rated round two.
Yep, 11 down.
Yeah, I like what we're seeing from these guys. Nobody's trying to bite off more than they can chew. Just very responsible, like you said, that high level mentality of these golfers. And Chris, he just makes these putts. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of these today. These edge of circle, nothing in the way. Chris Villa is not missing. I wonder what Fish is listening to.
Yeah, you gotta probably maybe some smooth jazz. I don't know.
I was going to say some educational content because he's a very intellectual fella. Anyway, hole 5, par 4, 478 feet. It's got a similar shape to the previous hole. It plays a little uphill off the tee, very tight landing zone. I would say a tighter landing zone than what we had in hole 4. A tighter gap than we had for hole 4 as well. And a very guarded green with a very specific fairway that you have to take. Chris, I think that's going to be a little left of where you want to be. I think you want to work the disc back a little more to the right on this shot.
Oh no. That's what you're hoping to avoid right there. You got to kind of look past the trees, past the gap, and just kind of play it as if they don't exist. But it's an unfortunate early kick there for Jacob.
That just gets caught up before it can get some fade. One of the things I really like about the design of this course is you see a lot of these holes where you want to be throwing a backhand turnover or flex shot. The tree early left right off the tee pad is left intentionally because it just adds a little bit of degree of difficulty to the shot. And as somebody who wants to throw that turnover backhand, personally, I find that tree to be very frustrating, but I think it adds another element of difficulty to a hole like this, where an otherwise simple shot takes a little bit more focus and skill.
Ooh, seeing the creativity from Fish here. Worked out pretty
Wow.
solid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's had some progress.
huge compliments to the Jersey Shore Disc Golf Club for, I mean, being coming out of the winter into the early spring. The course looks fantastic, and so all the club members, all of the volunteers that are out here putting the work in to make these places beautiful for events and beautiful for people coming to the area. It just, I think it shows up really well here on screen.
Yeah, 100%. I actually got to play a practice round with Fish a month and a half prior to this event. We went out and got some hot chicken after, but the course, even in February, was looking great. Grass in the fairways, and which I personally love. I don't know how many courses we see in the area in the woods where we have grassy fairways, but that's just something I love to see for the sport of disc golf.
You know, Matt, I also love hot chicken and practice rounds. I did not see the invite on my calendar for that, so just gonna leave it out there for that.
I'll be honest, I barely got invited myself. I kind of invited myself too. So next time I invite myself, I'll make sure to invite both of us.
Perfect. They can't do the two of us.
Fish listening to his daily affirmations, lining up this birdie putt.
Hmm. All right, I'm a believer. You said he doesn't miss, and I truly believe it. I mean, I know I see his posts all the time about events that he takes down, but man, that's from the putting green. I think Villa's the real deal.
So Chris has won a lot of events back in his day. And in his day, it's still his day. Chris has won a lot of events. None more notorious than the Neshaminy Creek Putting League that I don't think he's ever lost at. I've played a couple rounds with him at this putting league, and there have been, so there's 5 stations, and I have walked with him and seen him not miss a putt until the last putt on the last station. And it's like, good grief, when is this man going to miss a putt? And that's kind of what we're working on here with this round. Is like, when's this man going to miss a putt? He won't. Anyway, hole 6. We've got our first par 5 on the course. It's 848 feet, a very tight fairway. So it goes up and to the left, and then we go back down the hill and kind of dogleg, wraps around back to the right. Another somewhat protected green. This hole really takes 3 perfect shots to even get a look at a birdie. It's a very challenging hole. And that should be all right. It was a little high, and so it faded away from the fairway a little bit, but you really want to be in the middle, and I like this low line that Dylan's taking. If it gets to the first corner, which we'll see where that ended up.
Looks like a little pinched off there to the left. Is this the kind of hole where you can bite off more on any one particular shot, or is this just 3 very short kind of technical shots for these guys?
I feel like the big shot is the 3rd one into the green. So this one, you kind of play up into this spot where Jacob's going to be throwing his next shot. That's kind of where you want your drive to land, is the top of that hill. Then you're going to play down to where the catch cam is. Dylan's kind of taking a shortcut here.
Ooh.
We're not going to see this. Where is it? Oh, it's out of bounds. So it looks like he got caught up in some of the early branches and found out of bounds. Fish actually landed in a pretty ideal spot to throw this forehand here. And he's played that very well. He's going to be dead center. It's still a technical shot from there. And it's going to require some good control and distance, but that's a pretty clean shots 1 and 2 from Fish.
Ooh, that looked like it was going to be fantastic. Got that little late kick there.
And Jacob, again, playing down to kind of that second landing zone. We'll see if he has a look to the green for his par.
I would imagine that Dylan has not practiced from this position on this course.
No, it's not somewhere you really expect to be out here, but he's done well to get himself back into the fairway. Wow, that's a great shot from Chris. A lot of progress, very clean. Downhill technical shot.
There's something truly special about watching a full power shot in the woods. Just I don't know, nothing else kind of comes close to it in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. And there's no shortage of them out here. There's a lot of shots that require power and precision. This definitely being one of them. I mean, Fish, he's going to want to kind of hyzer flip this disc and then let it drift back to the right. Oh, it just catches that tree there. That was looking great. Jacob throwing, I believe that's his echo. Very smooth, just turning the whole way, sits flat right by the basket.
It's a great example of how Jacob didn't have the greatest, like the cleanest tee shot, but still through a couple other really smart, well thrown shots, he was able to get himself up there for a look at the par.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've played a handful of rounds with Jacob, and he's not super flashy, but he's got a lot of power, and he's just really consistent with the shots that he throws. You're not going to see him doing any trick shots or anything super fancy or highlight reel worthy, but he's just going to put the disc down the fairway, and he's going to make his putts. Super excited that he was able to make it on this lead card coverage, and we get to see him out here on the big stage at an A tier.
Fish just kind of, except for that one bogey, kind of keeping himself right there with the stacked up pars, playing that kind of maybe a little bit of chess, not checkers golf, waiting for some movement on the leaderboard.
Yeah, and he's not going to be happy about that bogey on 4, but keeping it to 1 over at this point in the course, especially after playing one of the hardest holes that we'll see all day, he's done very well to this point. This hole actually played almost a stroke and a quarter over par, with almost half of the field taking a double bogey or worse, believe it or not.
Quick check in here after 6 holes. Dylan's leaking a little bit. I think he's got to kind of figure things out and plug some of those holes, because you got monsters like Chris Villa here who hasn't missed a putt inside what feels like circle 1, waiting in the wings.
Yeah, and that's going to take us into hole 7. We go from one of the hardest holes on the course to a 299-foot par 3. It plays a little uphill, similar shape to hole 1. We're either going to see a low forehand or a nice high turning backhand. And Chris is going to show us the backhand line here with this flippy disc. I believe this is a hatchet.
We're hearing some chains on the tee pad, but from a different hole, unfortunately.
Oh, look at that smooth sidearm from Fish.
Personal growth today, though.
Exactly.
You hear him talking about personal growth. That's a great shot from Fish. He should have a look at the 2. And this is one that, similar to hole 3, a lot of these guys have this one circled as, we may not get 6, we may not get 1, but we want to get 7. This is kind of where a lot of these guys want to get on the board and maybe find some momentum here.
Speaking of which, you kind of would hope that Dylan gets pretty excited about a forehand as he's been throwing them. This is the first kind of like, I don't want to call it an easy forehand off the tee, but kind of more straightforward, but just leaves it a little too wide. And oh, nice little bid there for the birdie, but it looks like he's going to have to settle for par on this. I would say a must-get birdie for most of the field.
Yeah, and on any other course, I wouldn't consider this a must-get birdie, but compared to what we have out here, this might be the only look at birdie you get all day. So you're going to want to convert this one. So you're exactly right. And Chris, we've been talking about it. We finally see a miss from Villa.
It just gives me hope, that he can miss too. So
What, that he's human?
yeah, exactly.
Jacob here looks like he's about to step off the bullseye. It's going to be our lone birdie for the day on the card with hole 7. One of the only holes, I believe, to play under par for the day. Hole 8, another what you would consider short par 3. You kind of have 2 lanes here. You can take the backhand hyzer up the right, backhand hyzer, or forehand up the left, both of those lanes kind of converge at the green. Again, you're looking at the round. This is one of the holes that you absolutely want to give yourself a look at the birdie.
Still not too bad of a spot there. A little bit of a late kick, but he's got himself a putt. And after that great scramble on hole 6 and the birdie on 7, Jacob might be in prime position to get another birdie here.
And Chris is pumped. I mean, that's as close as you'll get on this hole, as we're going to see a slow-mo rewind of this one. Just beautiful shape. Fades right on time. It was in the middle of the gap the entire time. And that is just as parked as it gets out here at the Grove.
A little early inside for Fish. Now I'm trying to think about these forehand lines. I mean, that tree just off the right of the tee pad there, it has me scared. Like it has me a little worried for the forehand, but oh.
So it's hard to see from this camera angle, but that lane is a little more open to the forehand than it appears. But I agree, that first tree, because you're looking to kind of flex it, that first tree right off the tee pad is definitely in your mind if you're throwing that flex sidearm. Dylan with the A5 approach. Goes a little long, but should be able to manage to clean that up.
Nice big birdie putt here for Jacob. Oh, he knew right out of his hand that was not going to be it.
Aren't those the worst?
The absolute worst.
And somebody on your card inevitably goes, "Oh, I looked in the whole way," but you just knew right out of your hand. You just know.
Yep. Good comeback putt there for Jacob. Or somebody says good bid, which,
Oof.
We can keep that to ourselves.
Please don't get me started on that. I'm starting to get a little worked up just thinking about it.
Speaking of worked up, getting a little early signs of some frustration here from Dylan. I mean, still feeling, I don't know how much he checks the leaderboards, but still feeling like he's in a bit of a comfortable lead. But, I mean, what he had before, narrowing down slower and slower. And the people in the field are kind of probably looking at that and saying, hey, if I just string something together here, I might be in contention.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, and we got somebody like Villa, seasoned vet, chasing you down. Parks hole 8 right there. He's tapping in left-handed. He's feeling himself. Going into hole 9, we've got another in a series of short par 3s. This is 328 feet. This hole is going to bend slowly to the right in a very protected green. You're just hoping to put your disc on line and hope it doesn't get in the way of one of those skinny trees by the basket.
Looks like that just turned a little bit earlier than he wanted it to. Carried a little bit more, and that would have been ideal.
Yeah, I actually talked to Chris a little bit after the round, and the insight he gave me on this hole was actually just one word. He said bad. Bad. Yeah, this hole shapes up nice for Fish. You're thinking a late flip backhand, and goodness, that must be a comet. Oh, and it just catches one of those guardians before it gets a chance to turn all the way over.
I'm not really a forehand expert. I don't want to call it undercommitted, but it seems like he just kind of can't find the release angle that he wants today.
Yeah, and it's hard when you have to hit a gap and you have to hit a specific shape on every hole and you just can't find the rhythm. Those mistakes just kind of compound and continue. It's hard to It's hard to snap out of that. But fortunately for Dylan, we will be able to work ourselves out of the woods in a little bit here as we get to the back nine. There's a couple holes where, I wouldn't necessarily call them open, but, you get a little more freedom from these tight gaps off the tee. So we'll see going into the back nine how he's able to adjust, if he's able to kind of get some of that confidence back and let the disc fly and get to see the shots finish.
A little bit of a long look here for Villa. Oh,
my
was there
gosh.
ever a doubt? Was there ever a doubt?
I want to know what he's got playing in those headphones. He knew it right away.
AC/DC for sure.
Oh, nice. The
Not
old
to be-
P1 bounce.
Not to be outdone. Great stretch of a few holes here from Jacob.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. You have 2 early double bogeys in the round, and then you bounce back, getting a pretty quality birdie on the card, and just staying clean. That's what you got to do out here. You're gonna take a number eventually. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that from Villa yet, but it just happens out here. You're gonna get some bruises out here. You just got to play through them. And I think Jacob's done a good job of, getting his confidence, getting his rhythm, and just getting right back to work.
Well, that's going to do it for the front nine. Let's check in on the leaderboard here as we got Dylan still at the top. +5 through the front nine. Definitely looking to clean that up in the back. But like you said, some holes in the open to be able to probably do that for himself. And at the actual leaderboard itself, we got Lucas Oberholzer-Hess having a decent round, but it looks like the field as a whole, other than Zach, struggling a little bit with the front nine.
We've actually got some disc golf trivia here. How many PDGA wins does a lead card have collectively? I'm going to guess that's somewhere in the triple digits, but we will find out on the back nine. Be sure to check out the back nine on the channel.